over the police and they end up in jail and then over at the psych hospital. But sometimes the crimes are rather heinous crimes. I don't have to go into the details or list names, but this is, that's the nature of where I work. And so I encounter, on a typical day, I'll encounter a person whose past is due to mental illness, is filled with actions that, most people would find repugnant. And yet, when I meet the person, after they've been stabilized for a little while and they're no longer suffering as much from their mental illness, they're rather pleasant to be around, they're rather charming, and they have a chayim. They have a certain pleasantness to them. There's something very likable about them, because in that moment, those few months where they're in the hospital, they're very genuine and sincere about the mistakes that they've made in the past and their intent to do better in the future. Now, I don't have to look at the statistic rates about recidivism here in this type of hospital because it's mental illness and we're dealing with a certain population. Recidivism is high. People are coming in and out of this place, and they go and they come back. And so, while they're there, they're very charming. They're pleasant to be around, and they're very sincere. But at the same time, there's that little worm in the back of my head saying, but what are they going to be like once they get out of the hospital? How well is this going to go for them? These are people who are addicted to substances, or their only place to go is an unhealthy situation where we know where they're going to get into trouble. And yet, it's hard not to see them as very sincere and good people while they're there in the hospital. And so this, for me, speaks a lot about our, one of the inhibitions that I find I have about Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, is this notion that, I'm going into Rosh Hashanah and going to Yom Kippur, I'm going to pick up all these, Kabbalahs, and I'm going to be a better person for Elul and for Yom Kippur and through Sukkot, I'm going to be a better person. But comes Mar Cheshvan, and year in and year out, statistically speaking, I know where I'm going to end up. And so that often is, when we look at Yom Kippur, we're say, what's the point? We know where we're going to be in the future. And I think the idea of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is not so much, of course, our intentions are to make permanent changes. But if we can think about it less in terms of, we're going to make a permanent change in the future, and this is who we're going to be, and we're thinking about our Teshuvah in terms of tomorrow, rather than just thinking of our Teshuvah in terms of today. Am I sincere today? Am I really sincere today? According to Rav Kook, the notion of Teshuvah is really a return to ourselves. When we do Teshuvah, successful Teshuvah in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is a return to ourselves. And just like these psych patients, we go out into our regular year and we're inundated with pressures, we're inundated with conflicts. Life is not simple, life is very difficult. We all have our own unique challenges, just like these patients. And when we're inundated with those challenges, we're taken over, we're trapped, we're shackled by those challenges. But we have moments in our lives where we reach a certain clarity. It happens on a regular basis. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is a time where we just sort of get a wake-up call, we get a certain amount of clarity. And according to Rav Kook, Teshuvah is really returning to ourselves. What's happening is not hypocrisy. It's not that we're faking it for a couple months and then going on with our lives. What's happening is that we free ourselves of the shackles of day in and day out. For a month, we free ourselves, and we're able to be the true people that we really are. And in terms of the din of Rosh Hashanah, I heard from a Rosh Hashiva of mine that that's how the din of Rosh Hashanah is also. Hashem's not looking at, who's Michael Rootman going to be tomorrow? Hashem's looking at who is Hashem today. How do we know this? One of the readings of Rosh Hashanah is Akedas Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, where Abraham is willing to sacrifice Isaac, Yitzchak, and Yitzchak is willing to be sacrificed. And we understand why we read that on Rosh Hashanah. The Rosh Hashanah tefillahs are filled with Akedas Yitzchak. But the other reading of Rosh Hashanah is what we would call, Akedas Yishmael, where Abraham sends away Yishmael. And you wonder, what is that doing in the Rosh Hashanah tefillah service? What do we care that Abraham sent away Yishmael? So one simple answer, I think the most partial answer to that question is that actually, if you think about it, think about it from Abraham's perspective, sending away Yishmael, it's not a simple choice on his part. That was a big sacrifice. He didn't want to send away Yishmael. He sent away Yishmael because Sarah and Hashem told him to. But in a certain sense, it's his son. He didn't want to send him away. And a little bit of that schus maybe is coming from Yishmael. But what my Rosh Hashiva said, Rabbi Avishai David, when I was spending the year in Israel, he said that actually there was a discussion between the Malachim and Hashem about whether or not Yishmael should be saved in that moment. When Yishmael is out in the desert and he's about to die, the Malachim say to Hashem, "You're going to save Yishmael? Look what he's going to do in the future. In the future, Yishmael's descendants, they're going to be out in the desert, and the Jewish people are going to go to Yishmael's descendants and say, we need some water, and the descendants of Yishmael are going to take bags filled with air and say, here's some bags of water, and they're going to drink the air, the hot air, and when they drink that hot air, the Jewish people are going to just die of thirst because of the air. This is what Yishmael's descendants are going to do in the future. How could you save this person? How can you save a person like that? Look what he's going to become. And Hashem's response to the Malachim is that I'm saving him ba'asher hu sham. I'm saving him where he is right now. I'm not saving him because of what he's going to be in the future. You're right. I can look into the future and I can see in the future that he's going to be, a real Russia. But right now, in this moment he has a moment of sincerity, and I'm saving him in that schus. The one final idea is this notion of galus hashchina. This comes up in the Balatanya. The Balatanya writes about loving a Russia. He says that the way you love a Russia is you appreciate that a Russia is really just what's called galus hashchina. The shchina, which is pretty much the neshama. It's hard to, when you learn Tanya, it's not clear what's the neshama, what's the shchina. The shchina is basically trapped. The shchina is trapped in all the trappings of life. The Shekhinah is trapped in the personality, it's trapped in the Yetzer Hara, it's trapped in all the busy things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. The Shekhinah is trapped. But if for a moment, that Russia can free himself from the shackles of the past, then the Shekhinah can be expressed for a minute. And when we're looking at another person who's done wrong, what we're supposed to be looking for is that Shekhinah that's trapped. The idea is that for much of the year, it's not that we're bad people, it's that we're trapped. The Shekhinah is trapped, we're a neshama that's trapped. But if we have moments of clarity that could be on you're driving on the highway and you see an accident, you're like, wow, life is very fragile, and that wakes you up. It could be a vacation. You go away for a week and it's like, oh, I'm not bothered by the daily trappings of my life. By the end of the vacation, we're a little bit nicer, a little bit more sincere. It could be Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and it's not hypocrisy. That's actually who we are truly. So, I give everybody a bracha that the Teshuvah should be lasting, but the question of whether it's lasting or not shouldn't be important. What we should be trying to do is reveal our true selves, our good selves, because that's what we all are. We're all good people, and the past is not relevant, the future is not relevant for our Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's ba'asher hu sham. It's who we are on that day. And if that's sincere, then that's the Teshuvah that we're guaranteed, and that's the kapara that we're guaranteed. Good.